let's just start before we have to go through that nonsense again.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And I'm
All
also going to use this on my show as well. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like,
Okay.
use as little or as much as you want, I guess.
Yep. Okay. Go
So,
ahead.
to anyone listening, this is a Mohawk College second-year radio student project, also turned into podcast. All right. So basically, yeah, just it's more or less questions about the music scene in general in Hamilton because you've more or less in some way or form have been a part of it for quite some time, as far as I'm concerned.
As far as you're concerned, oh, okay. So I guess I should do like a quick backgrounder of who I am.
Yeah. Introduce yourself and everything like that, and maybe that'll help a little
Sure.
bit.
Okay. My name's Jamie Smith. I am a former, the former program director at Indy 101, C101, now known as the Hawk. I'm also a graduate of the radio broadcasting program at Mohawk College, and I am an alumni, of course. And but before all of those things, I was a music promoter, all kinds of tour manager of rock bands. I did all of those things in the greater Hamilton area, starting back in the early 90s. So I was a tour manager for the Warner recording artists, the Killjoys, Sony recording artists, Junk House, that sort of thing. So, and I met all of those bands by being 21. I was like 21 or something, 21, 22. And I was booking a music venue here in Hamilton called the Corktown on 175 Yonge Street. So that's how I've learned like little bits all about the music industry, the publicity and the management and the agent. And so that's how I did all of those things before I got into radio, taking radio at a later age around like 32, 33, that sort of thing. And then I developed this really stupid persona named Gunner on air, and it has stuck with me forever, sort of thing.
Oh, it's catchy though. I mean, it works.
Right. And I transitioned to all of those things into doing the radio. I left radio and I went into social media marketing, that sort of thing. And then now I've pivoted back to doing Steel City Music, which the co-owner, Tyler McIntyre, another gentleman from the Hamilton area. So I've seen a lot of different things, how the music industry has changed here locally within Hamilton and across Canada.
And actually, some of the questions I have will probably dig a little bit into that.
Sure.
So if that works to your benefit too. But yeah, even with your name Gunner, like when I first met you, I knew you as Gunner. That's how I emailed you and everything like that. But now it's at the point where I struggle if I should call you Jamie or Gunner. Like I just don't even know anymore.
Either or, I don't know. I
feel like a professional setting, I'll call you Jamie, but then I'll just be like, hey, Gunner.
Yeah, that's totally what happens, to be honest. Call me whatever you want. That's okay.
So if I call you asshole, is that okay too?
Oh, buddy, you know what? That is probably one of the nicest things that people have called me. If you did call
one of the nicer things.
Yeah, just get in line. There's a line. There's a long line.
I won't be that guy.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Whatever. That's fine. I'm good with it. So go ahead, fire away with the questions. What
absolutely.
About?
So I have these written down in a specific way, and just again answer them as you'd like. So both including and beyond the music scene. How do you feel about Hamilton and how it treats and presents the arts?
Oh, how it treats and presents the arts. I'm trying to try to figure out from what era I can speak from.
Anything where you feel comfortable, like it's
okay. So how Hamilton treats the arts. I can, for the longest time when I first started out, it was very. It didn't seem to be very supportive at that time, only because I myself personally, I was very limited in my background because I was much younger and I was just learning how everything works. Who are the players? How do you present whatever your music is or your band or whatever, and how do you get support, that sort of thing. And it's changed over the years, my perspective of everything, because back then I was, I was just learning, and you're always learning, Kris. But I was still learning on how to get them, whatever I was working on and promoting at the time, through the means in that specific era. But Hamilton back then, in the 90s, wasn't as strong as far as pushing what's coming out of Hamilton. I can only say from my experience with my contemporaries is that a lot of my friends at the time were always strong supporters of Hamilton, but the idea was get out of Hamilton and make it in other places. Like if you're going to, sure, you can start here, but get out to get noticed. Because there was always seemed to be that we didn't get behind and cherish what we had, like wear it on our heart on our sleeve, but wear the music on our sleeve, or our art or our creatives, that sort of thing. And I'm talking about the 90s. That's my experience. Other people have different experiences, man. And
Well,
they may
especially the last decade alone, it's been crazy for the
right,
support of it.
right. But this is what I'm saying. In the 90s, it was just like, get out, go. And this is what I was told. And I told other people, get out, because Hamilton doesn't really support you. Because I would see bands like Junk House and the Killjoys and other bands play all across the country, and there would be like just thousands and thousands and thousands of people showing up, wanting to see the bands, huge shows, blah blah blah. And then you come back to Hamilton, it's just like, like it's yeah, whatever. And it was just like it was kind of weird, right? It's just like, well, everyone kind of likes this music outside of Hamilton, and when they come back, they weren't getting that same, like, it's amazing. That has definitely changed, because technology with the internet, as you know, right? Promote. It's easy, accessible, that sort of thing. And then you move through the 2000s and that sort of thing, and you get into this whole technology internet age where everyone is promoted on social media. Everyone should know about you, even though there's still a lot of competition out there to get your music or your art out there. And now it's just like, it's like the Arkells. Like, you just look at the Arkells and you go, that's a very hardworking band that started out as a bunch
And they're
of
extremely proud of the city too. Like,
Oh,
they push it every opportunity they get.
right, absolutely. And they were enraptured with the culture here. They went to school at Mac. They lived on Arkell Street. They all lived together, right?
So is that where the band name came from?
That's where the band name came out, man. They were called Charlemagne back in the day, and
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, and they were this cool little band that started up out at Mac. And I remember sitting with Jamie Tennant, the program director at CFMU. Him and I were doing a show, because I started out doing volunteer work there back in the 90s and learning the on-air stuff even before I took it at radio, or at Mohawk College radio broadcasting program. And we were doing this show, and all of a sudden these guys just showed up with some gear, and I think it was like our first CNC disc that we put out. And Jamie's like, oh wait, I think I told these guys they can come and play. And it was like Max Karaman and a couple of the guys, and it was just like, we weren't really set up for it, but they just brought in some of the gear and they played. And I was like, wow, these guys are really good. And like, it was like, yeah, they're, and then, but they showed some passion and initiative when they started, and they're just great players, right? And but they really enjoyed what they were doing, and they kept going, and they worked on it, and Dynalone Records helped them, that sort of thing. But, when you're putting over 20,000, 23,000 people at the old Ivory Stadium, I don't call it the Tim Hortons Field. That's kind of,
I still call it Ivory too. I know.
Yeah, it's Ivory.
I feel it.
Ivory. Yeah, but
same with Cops Coliseum. It's always gonna be Cops Coliseum.
But you stand there, and after seeing a band like that start out, you're just like, my heart was swelling up. I'm just like, oh, this is like, what a proud, like, I got to see these guys when they were this. You got to see the career, that sort of thing. So but they were blessed with hard work and great songs and technology of what it is now, where they had that, they had a step up from other bands from the 90s, that sort of stuff, because it's just different way of promoting, right?
Yeah, they had it just a little bit easier, only a little bit easier because of how easy it is to push and promote.
Right, but and I really want people not to misunderstand what I'm saying, is that talent just rose. Like,
oh, absolutely,
rose, right? It's just like almost to the point where you're just kind of like, and I always used to jokingly say this about some of them on the air, especially Dan Griffin, who used to be in the band. I'm just like, oh, these guys make me sick, like, how can you be so good at something and I'm struggling at every little meaningless thing that I'm doing? And then you just wish you had that kind of, that little bit of talent that others have.
I've asked myself that same question more than once.
Right. But yeah, but they're just a great band, and they show what hard work and initiative can get you. Right. So I like using them as a template when I talk about music here in Hamilton. But but now it's like, we're Hamilton, City of Music. Right. So that is like such a strange title to me, because I don't know if you've ever followed over the last couple of years, is that, we really want to push the arts. Supercrawl over the last 8-10 years has done that. They've championed it. Right.
Yeah.
And other people have championed the music and the creative thing. So, but it takes a while to convince the city of Hamilton and the powers that be that they should invest money into these economic generators,
And I
right?
mean, I always see these positive things online about people talking about the sporadic concerts that pop up, like the ones at Gage Park that happened on like certain Sundays in the summer. You have the ones outside of City
Sure.
Hall, the rooftop performances in Jackson Square. So I mean, that is like a really good promotional thing that they're doing. It's gaining a lot of attention. I think people are really enjoying that, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, these are all great things. And there's been a lot of people over the years that have always pushed the arts, like the late great Bill Powell did that. And there's so many names of other people over the years that have worked within the city's guidelines of trying to put on shows, that sort of thing. But when we talk about Hamilton as the city, as a music city, it takes people to just drag the city's powers that be at that time period to come with them. Like,
Mhm.
look, we bring a ton of money into this city in regards to our art, into our music, that sort of thing. You should be funding us, right? And a couple of years ago, I had Mark Fuakawa on the air. He's the owner, operator of Dr. Disc. And
Nice.
Mark moved from London, I believe, back like 25 years ago, and started up Dr. Disc here, one of the like one of the stores here. And he's always been a strong proponent of music here, always pushing it, always pushing it. And they did a study on of the music and everything that's going on here, how many jobs, what it creates, how much money comes in. And I'm really interested to see, because the study was done 2 years ago, pre-COVID, but how much money was bringing into the city as far as tourism, job creation, tax, that sort of thing. Because now you have this hard data of, listen, this is what comes into our city. We can use this as, you know, if the city of Hamilton puts so much more money into this, then we can bring in more money and bring more jobs into the Hamilton, help create more jobs, that sort of thing. Now,
Yeah.
remember, this was all done pre-COVID. Now we're in a different world, but the data's there, right? The
Yeah.
data's there. Like this is something that can happen, right? So, and I recently asked that question of Debbie Spence, who works for the Hamilton Music Council, and which is airing on the November 27th show on Steel City Music. You can catch it on the archives on my website at steelcitymusic.ca.
Yeah.
But I asked her about this question, about that, and a few other things. And what's great about this now is that the Hamilton Music Council um, will guide you through loans, grants, who to talk to for if you want to get into a studio, how to connect you to grant writing, those sort of things. They've been doing those things over 8 years now. So that is like a big, massive thing for the creatives here in Hamilton. But it takes time to get to that point, like to get the mechanism going of showing, right? People, you kind of have to tear down the silos, everyone's silos for communication, how to make things better. But it definitely takes time. But now Hamilton is this city of music, but we still have so much more work to do, right? Like
Oh yeah.
pre-COVID, you have a patio, and someone says, "Well, you can have a patio, but you can't have any music on it." It's like, well, how are you the city of music if you can't have any music on a patio in the summertime, right? So there are these that's just a little thing that irks me, and I
Hmm.
understand it, but there has to be allowances made of a certain thing. You can't say you're one thing and not fully commit to it, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I see Hamilton now. It's gotten a lot better. I don't think, but I still think you should always like get up and be and work in other areas of our country or the world or whatever for your passion and your creativity. But Hamilton has come a long way to get to this point, and it still has a lot of work to do.
And actually, yeah, like if you want to dig deeper into that, we can do that a little later because that's actually a question coming up.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it has to do with like looking to the future type thing. But
Yes.
I'll move on to the second question now, I suppose, since it's kind of in this. So even just before this interview technically started, I've said that you've been in some way, shape, or form part of the local music scene for quite some time.
Sure.
So prior to the pandemic, even going back as far as you need to or as recent as you need to, how has the music scene been in Hamilton in your eyes?
When I came into it, I was like a 19-year-old, 18-year-old sort of thing, and I was like enthralled with the music because my older friends would like go Have you seen the Trouble Boys? I'm like, who are the Trouble Boys? Oh my God, Trouble Boys are this, and this. And it was like Tim Gibbons, Ray Frugia, Mike Williams, that sort of thing. Have you seen the Florida Razors? And it's like, no, I've never seen the Florida Razors. Well, that's Tom Wilson's band, and it's, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, okay. So Teenage Head came from Westdale. So I always heard the stories about Teenage Head. So when I started going out to see bands and bars, that sort of thing, it was a different experience. There was more people going from show to show, club to club. The music wasn't so segmented. So you had an audience to draw from. Like, you could go to Dallas Rocks in the early 90s and see a bigger band. You could go to the Corktown, the Gown and Gavel, all these different type of bars, and there was a crowd. As it moved up into 2000s, when we saw the music scene, it kind of dwindled. There's more styles of music, more crowds, that sort of thing, but only towards that style. It wasn't like a cross thing. Like it was when I first started. And I sound like an old guy because I am. But as we move forward, you could see the local music scene of concert goers not go out to all the shows all the time through the week. And that to me, that was always brought up. Like I would talk about this same question you asked about what is the scene like now to then, what are the challenges, that sort of thing. Whenever I did an interview or I talked to any of the promoters or anyone that was involved in it, and there was a lot of great responses, just like, well, people aren't going out from Tuesday to Thursday to Friday, like from Monday to Thursday, because the money's not there. Like, they don't have the same amount of money they used to. It would be broken down to Hamilton's not affordable. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a younger person, it's just like, at one time the rent was we were a great place to live. Like, as far as like rent wise, you could rent, you could buy your necessities, your food, you'd have a little bit of entertainment money or what have you, but you could still live and have some sort of like social life in those respects. Now, as you get older, as we all get a little bit older and economics times change, the money's not there. And those remarks were made to me over the years by Lee Reed.
Oh, okay.
Lee Reed said, it's just not there. People can't afford to live here. And Lee is actually, with his activism within the hip hop community, and also as a Hamiltonian, has said, we got to get a handle on housing. We got to start finding housing for people. People don't have money. And, so he's just a great guy of knowledge that way. But even some of the promoters around town have just said, I'm not getting the crowds that would come in midweek, because the amount of people that are following music and going out, they just don't have the money anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Like the dollars are tight. But I also think it's a generational thing too. Like some part of my theory is that, sure, like I used to go out all the time and go see bands, but I got older. So where are the younger generations that were going out and that were very passionate about live music? Right. And
yeah, it makes sense.
And Kris, as you know, you're in a band, you do the Frail State project that you've done for a little while now. You've consumed a fair amount of music through social media.
Yes.
You don't go.
I grew up in the MySpace age. I was a teenager, so that was like the perfect time for it.
Sure, it's great, but I mean, now look at it. You can consume it that way. When you were younger, you had to go, if not just like you would see MTV or whatever stuff, but what I'm saying is you could go to a club when you were when I was younger and see a band. Now I don't have to. I can sit on Zoom with you and we could watch a band perform from their studio that has great, video qualities, audio qualities, and put on a show and engage us. And that seems to be where I think everything is going. Is just like, if COVID has shown us anything, we are more moving to consuming what we enjoy online. So that's how I saw the music scene. Is technology is great. We were able to promote the creativity and artists of Hamilton throughout the world, but the generations are like, I don't need to see it the way you're enjoying it. I can watch it on Instagram. I can consume it through YouTube videos, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and like I do agree with you, because I remember times when I was younger too, where I used to love going to shows, even if I could hear it on MySpace or whatever, it didn't really matter. Like, I always tried to make it a point to go to like local shows all the time. I went to bigger concerts too, but just yeah, as you get older, I mean, I'm busy with school now, money's tight, and
Yeah.
we're not even talking about the pandemic at this point, but yeah,
No.
it's been harder to do that.
And that's what I saw before the pandemic for years. I have friends just saying to me, "Man, I can't believe no one showed up for this show. I can't believe." There was always this really horrible joke I used to say, and all the time I post on Facebook. I go, "Here comes the line. If you didn't show up on a Tuesday to see Dandy Longlegs at This Ain't Hollywood, you missed out." And it's like legit. You're standing there and you're seeing whatever great band on a Tuesday night. Like, how come no one's here? It's like, because no one can afford to come to the show on a Tuesday anymore. It's a different generation. They consume everything differently, right? So, and I also go into the fact that I think that live music, as far as attendance wise, the generations changed because some people just are into different style of music, and going to a dance club at a certain point is far more entertaining for people than it is to stand in a noisy rock club and not, it's like a different mindset, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've seen close, I think the last like local show I was able to go to was a couple of years ago. It was the Astral Witch CD release party, and the White Swan was there and everything
Oh,
like that.
right. Yeah. Okay.
It was a fairly packed show as it was, and it was encouraging to see considering I had heard stories about how like little attendance there was at like different venues and everything like that. So
But that's the homework done by the bands and the venues. Like, that's bringing all your friends to a show, right?
yeah.
And I think that's a thing about when you play shows, you can only the ask is only so many times for your friends. Like, I really need you to be at this show. Can you please come to this show? And then they go to your show about 3 or 4 or 5 times if they're really good friends, if they're fans of the band. But after that, where is your fan base? Who is consuming your music? How are they buying it? That sort of thing. So how do you, then there's all the bigger, greater questions, like how many times do you play in your area, right? Do you take the opening slot on a Thursday to bring people in to help the promoter for the touring act, who is supposed to bring in everybody, and you're just there to warm the crowd up? But sometimes that never happens, right? You end up bringing everybody. And then when you do a Saturday, about a month later, half your crowd shows up. So it's weird. It's a weird vibe, right?
I guess it would also come down to like if you can create some sort of mystique. I know that's almost impossible to do nowadays because of social media and everything, but one example I know of is the band Rolodex Darko.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
definitely.
they're changing it up a bit now, as far as I'm concerned. Like they have music on SoundCloud now, which is cool because I like their music personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mystique was that if you wanted to experience what they have to offer, you have to go to their shows. I
Well,
regret never going, but I have always wanted to.
and you know what? Geez, man, you know what? Big age difference between you and I, but I think we're cut from the same cloth. I wanted to go, but something came up, and then I didn't go, and then now it's kind of like, you idiot, you should have went. Rolex Darko came up to the Hawk a while back. They came up on
I
Steel City
actually,
Music.
oh yeah, because they were also in a Dylan Moore show, Campus Conversations.
Yeah,
That's
and
where I met the drummer.
is that where you met the drummer? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they came in and they were just like, yeah, we want to come in to be interviewed, but we don't want to, I think it was like, we don't want to play any of our music. And I'm like going, no, like, that's like, why? I don't need to, like, real honestly, Kris is like, would you like to sit there and go, so you don't want to play any of your music, but you want to hang out and talk about your music? Like, no, that's not how it works. It's just like, good or bad, I'm going to play your music and we're going to chat and I'm going to help promote you. But they're a very good band, by the way. But when I was sitting there, I was like, it was a great interview, I thought, because the one guy said, well, if we're going to like our blood, we're going to use our blood, and we're gonna write our lyrics in blood, and then we'll give you like a burned CD. And I'm kind of like, what? That's a great idea. And then like the immature me is like, yeah, just, what? Let's do it up. Get it out, cut up, let's drain some blood, do up a whole bunch of albums. This is great. And then the other part of my brain clicked in, the older part went, health reasons, maybe, you don't
Yeah,
do
welcome to
those.
2020 where we can't deal with bodily fluids anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, but to me, it was the spirit of Gigi Allen. Like, just like, oh,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna rub poo on yourself. Is that what you're gonna tell me next? Because that'd be super.
Just
I'm
beat the shit
definitely,
out of the crowd.
yeah, I'm gonna go to Doors Metal Taco Bar, and I'm gonna stand there with a bunch of other people going, ooh, this is going somewhere. But I like their energy and their creativity. And then when they played their music, I was like, this is great. Why didn't you not want to play it? But they wanted to build a mystique.
Yeah,
right?
and that can work too. I mean, it's risky. It's extremely risky because you're giving no one a sample of what you are. It's just like come out at the show and find out. Like that, it's hard to
It
get that to
doesn't
work nowadays.
it doesn't work that way because they're right. You should build a mystique. You should really go and see this band.
Yeah.
But but I think we are just so jaded and so used to like, well, whatever. I can just, you know, I can go on your link tree right now. I can go to your Instagram. Oh, I see where you recorded it. Oh, here's some teasers off of Spotify. Here's this. I got the gist of it. It's like, to me, it's like when they do a movie promo, the whole movie's in the promo. I don't got to see it. You know, like there's just a little
Yeah.
too much of you in everything. And, you know, so I'm saying, you know,
That's why I think maybe even I don't know how well the music would have done back in like the year 2000, but Rolodex Circle seems like a good band that would have fit in 2000 because you didn't have the option to just go to all these streaming services. You had to go to the show.
you had to go to the show, and that was always the mystique of grabbing a street magazine, a fanzine. And back in my day, there was fanzines, I believe, started in like the late 60s or whatever, and it was just like people photocopy and that sort of thing. And in the 70s, so you know, by the time the 80s rolled around, going into the people were actually still doing them. I remember back in Hamilton around 87 to 89, and I was a teenager. And even going into like the 90s, people were still making fanzines, you know, like, and those were a thing where you would pick it up and it would, you know, so and so was writing an article, like the Mole, Bruce the Mole Mowat from Hamilton, Ontario, who lives out west now. He's like one of those guys that's always written for like different magazines across Canada, but he was always writing for fanzines and would turn other people onto it, that sort of thing. Even like simple little fanzines where you would find out about local artists where the spec wouldn't cover. That's because it's not like some of the newer artists, they wouldn't cover them, right? It was just like
Yeah.
known established acts, that sort of thing. So like even there was like I remember one, Bob McKnight and Ron Ferroni, right? And a few other friends, they started a thing called Steel Lore. And it was just like you would get to read all about the Progressive Minstrels and Crimson Jimson and the Cynics, that sort of thing, and bands that were touring in the area, sort of thing. So that was like a hype. You were like, oh, you would get interested in something like this because you weren't, you would go to the club to see these bands that were coming into town, but they were underground status, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but you don't have that now because everything's on the internet. Like it's all there, right?
Yeah. So now we're kind of stuck romanticizing what was like 2 or 3 decades ago.
Sure, we are, but you know, but that's why we have that's why you got to help fund the younger generation of creatives to like find out what they can bring to the table, sort of for art and music, that sort of thing, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that just pivots right back to like what Hamilton is now. You know, there is an organization, that Hamilton has, that you can go on their website and find out how to get a loan, that sort of thing, and start things that way, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But you know, the argument is like, do they have a say on how we record, or is there a thing? Are we not like, do we fit into a certain category for them to fund? It doesn't work that way anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is that a form of sponsorship, right? A lot of people still have hangups with sponsorship, as they should. You know, do you think that beer companies should be sponsoring music, right?
Yeah.
I
Because there's
have,
like certain expectations on you.
yeah, there is, but I've never had a problem with someone giving an artist money so they could make their rent. But you know, if you accepted cigarette money back in the 90s and you had a problem with beer, you know, alcohol money, you're kind of hypocritical there too, right? So, because
Yeah.
both are bad for you, they've proven it. So there you go.
More or less.
Yeah.
So just going back for minutes because like talking about like local artists and everything like that, like you are obviously big into promoting that. Like it's part of your blood at this point. And so the next question is how important is Steel City Music, your show, to you?
To me, it's the
Like I know
it's
this
mu-
might seem like an easy-ish question or
no, it's
obvious
not.
question.
No, it's
No?
not really.
Okay.
No, because I haven't done a full-time show since I left the Hawk 8 years ago. Prior to that, I was teaching, promoting, doing all of those things. Like the culmination of who I was as a person died in 2012. That person is gone, right? And I don't know. Others explained it to me when they go through something. It's like I built my entire persona up to 2012 as this guy or this person and this brand and someone who always helps people and someone who promotes music. And I did all of those things. And then come 2012, when I left, that person was no more. So 8 years of like doing different jobs and life experiences. And the most recent, my poor father passed away a couple of years ago, and it just snapped me like, oh my God, you're wasting your life. You have to do what you're very passionate about while you're still on this planet. And it just clicked just like that. And I was just like, I still remember, I sent an email to Les Palango, the former station manager. And I said, hey, Chief, it seems the only time I was ever really happy if I was sitting behind that board in the studio. I like to be in happy places now. I want to do a show again. He said, yeah, sure, no problem. What do you want to do? Sounds of the Hammer, which was a show that I did before for 3 hours. I said, no. I'm going to call it Steel City Music, and I want to do 6 hours, almost as if to make up for lost time. Do you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I contacted my buddy Ty, because we started up the podcast again and the blog, and I said, yeah, I'm going to go back on the air as Steel City Music, promote the website, promote Hamilton, blah, blah, blah. And I started doing it. And that's how I got back into it. And it's all muscle memory for me now. Even now it's like, oh, this is how you do this. This is how you do this, that sort of thing. And that's why I kind of got back into it. Right. And it's been great. Like it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I will chat and interview with everybody, but it's a feel good thing to do something like this because you're helping people. And I think that's what I've always missed the most, was helping others, that sort of thing. Right.
So like that's the most important part to you then about the whole thing, is like being able to be that hand to reach out.
You kind of, what's the point of being here? Honestly, that's the way I look at it. It's just like, oh, so I can make a ton of money. There's no money for me to make in this planet. Like, come on, like seriously, right? I mean, you're put on this. My thing now is that I've been put on this planet to help others, and by doing that, it makes me feel good. So if I'm helping out we've had a conversation when you were going into radio. Said, anything you ever want to know, just ask me. I'll tell you what I know to help you out as much as.
And I think like a couple of weeks into my first semester, I sat in like half a show with you.
Yeah, and we sat down behind the board. I'm like, oh, this does this. Always remember to do this, And then, but the muscle memory comes back. You're like, oh, now I feel okay. Your anxiety level goes down completely. You realize if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Move forward. The only person that really caught the mistake was you, and you're your own worst enemy in your brain by making yourself, screw up. If you screw up once, you keep thinking about it, you'll keep screwing up. And these are just like little lessons that you end up learning in life, right?
Yeah, so, and even learning that from you. I remember when I sat in on Dylan Moore's show, Campus Conversations, when that was on, and they decided to end the interview with someone coming into the studio and giving us the sample of hot sauce. And I dropped a holy shit on the mic. Like I went away from the mic like this, but you could still hear it. And I remember I realized, even as a radio student, I looked up and looked right at Dylan when I said it, and he just kind of like smiling, smirking at me. Yeah. And he kept rolling with it though. He didn't even stop. That was good to see too.
You just move forward. It's fine. And that's also a human thing too, right? People forget that everyone is human when they get in front of the microphone, and they may say something that you may say something that they disagree with, or make an accident on air. And what we're talking about is dropping F-bombs or whatever, those kind of things. It's part of our language. It's part of who we are, right? I find that most people who get upset about that have a needle to pick about something, and that you just happen to be in the way. Like you can just become the focus point. And that's what I used to say that to all the students. I go, never apologize on the air. It just never happened. And you just move forward. And if someone did complain, I'm going to deal with it as the PD. Don't you worry. You just put your best foot forward. You learn from it. But as far as the flack goes, if someone were to complain about your show or what you said on the air, I will deal with it. But we will talk about it, and you will learn from that experience.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
That is, and that is it, because as it's my job as a PD to make sure that you learn from it, and that you are being the best on-air person you can be. And that's why you're there. And then you learn those traits, and hopefully you are able to pursue something in the media, whether if you're still not on radio. And this is what I always say to everybody: just because you went for radio doesn't mean you're going to end up in radio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but everything you learn can apply to something else where you can find another passion and you can use those skills. They are very transferable.
I mean, yeah, look what happened with Sam. She started in TV and went to radio. And I mean,
Sure.
look what happened with Chris May, went into radio. Now he's part of the Weather Network. I mean, that's just
Chris May.
just random examples off the top of my head.
Yeah, I like Chris May a lot. A funny story, and you don't please. I guess this will go in your podcast.
I can take this out. I mean,
no, this is good. This is fun. It's funny.
Okay.
It's a true story.
But if you want me to cut it out, I will.
No. It's fine. You can leave it in. But Chris May made me laugh so hard back in like 2003 or something, because he's a graduate of the radio broadcasting program, and he came back. He was a guest lecturer in one of our classes, and just like, I don't know, when I was in school, I was very enthusiastic about meeting the people that were in the media, and it was just like, I don't know if I was starstruck, but just something about listening to people talk about music or talk about radio was always great. And he was with at the time, I think it was like one of the stations that it was like a soft rock kind of, let's just say it that way. It was like a soft rock or soft jazz station. And we were talking about ratings or something. And he pointed out that ratings are important. And someone made some remark about our campus station at the time, C101. And I was a student. I was the student promotions guy. Another guy was the PD, or I just become the student program director at the time.
Yeah.
And he made this comment, and then all of a sudden my hand went up about ratings. And I guess he made a little joke about the campus station. And as I raised my hand, he looked at me and went, "Oh, I'd also like to clarify that the campus station has some higher ratings than we do at this current time." I was like, and I looked at him and I acknowledged him. At least you acknowledge, that we're, because full disclosure, I mean, our license is like, it's a campus radio station, right? We only have so many watts that we can put out.
Yeah.
We have no money really, unless someone, like, we get it from either at the time the MSA or the college funds it.
Yeah. And like, obviously can't discuss numbers, but I was in that radio board meeting when we discussed that. So,
well, yeah. So, you're privy to this one, but I mean, I'm talking, yeah. So you've seen the numbers. I mean, it is what it is. It's used as a teaching lab, a facility. It's a community station, that sort of thing. So we're not expected to generate numbers, but that one year we were doing better numbers than some other local radio stations. And he acknowledged that. And I went, "Okay, you're cool. You were about to start laughing and make a joke, but then you're pretty cool on this one." And then he goes on to the Weather Network, and he took all of his skills that he learned in radio and moved on to another medium. And he's done quite well, for as far as I can tell, really, to be honest.
Yeah. How often is he on TV? I mean, look at him.
Yeah. But also like Sam Cooke, as you brought up as well. Sam she did the YTV thing. She started out as, she's done a lot for her career and what her passion is. And from everything, I think she even started as, like, when she was a kid. I remember something about, like, being a dancer, and like cheerleading or something like that.
Yeah, I think she was a cheerleader
in the very beginning. But I remember talking to Sam when she wanted to interview bands, because I'm older than Sam, and I was tour managing the Killjoys, and I think it was like for Cable 14 or something. But she made all the right steps because she enjoyed what she was doing. And there's like all the old stories. I mean, she did the YTV thing. She did the internship at David Letterman. She, the country station, hot radio stations that she's done, right? When I'm like she's very well rounded in what she's doing. And then she ends up becoming the PD after Brian Bolt left, and she's had a really good tenure, I believe, at the college, I think. So.
Yeah, but I mean, and long story short, it's worked out for her.
I mean, it has, but she shows some great initiative in what she's been doing, right?
Oh yeah, so, absolutely.
Like she went from, when she came into the college, she was just like, "Okay, what do I got to do to make this better?" And she took feedback from everybody, right? And she
still does too.
She does, but she wears her heart on her sleeve. It's just like she genuinely cares about her students. When I say genuinely, I mean she cares about her students.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, but she
Props,
does.
Sam.
And she started Ignite Radio, right? And it's evolved quite a bit in the studio space, and like, I think she's done a great job, right? But those are the type of people that you can do different things in life, right? she's just kept it all towards the media. There's nothing saying that she can't go on and do something else in public relations or marketing or branding or anything like that.
Yeah, she more or less just found what's comfortable and what works now.
Right. Yeah. And remember also, any students that are listening to this, you're not going to do this all tomorrow.
No.
It's time.
I mean, look at me. I bust my ass with what I do, but I know I'm still a long way off from what I should be doing. I mean,
well, yeah, there are goals that everyone sets.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
and it's the same thing with bands do, but you have to set yourself realistic goals to achieve. And if you don't achieve them, you still don't crap on yourself because you see others doing what you perceive to be better than you, right? You can't keep holding yourself up to the standards of others.
Yeah, like
right?
you can always
you'll never find happiness, I believe.
Yeah, you can always ask yourself, like, if you set a goal and you don't reach it, it's like, what did I do to get to that goal? What wasn't I able to do to get to that goal? What can I do to get to that goal from here now? Like,
right.
It's a very similar question, just worded 3 different ways, but I mean, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your next question, by the way?
Yeah, I was actually going to transition to that.
Oh, sure, buddy.
So transition point, star wipe on the screen there. that's not happening. So speaking of transitioning, actually, how was the transition from being live in studio, like for your show, and having real interactions with people to simply just striking up phone calls or Zoom calls? Because obviously that's, especially for someone like you who likes to do this kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it's so funny because, as I said earlier, the happiest I've been has been in that studio and at that time, my mind frame, getting behind the studio, playing with the levels, talking to people, interviews, spinning music, taking requests, telling people about what's going on in general. Like, hey, did you know that this event's happening at this bar? Did you know that this is happening at this venue? Did you know that this charity has come up? Do you know that there are people in need? There is the Ladybird Sanctuary. Like all of those things that I feel that people should be a part of and know about. I would sit behind that board and I go, oh, it's all coming back. This feels great, blah, blah, blah. COVID hits and it's like, okay, can you just submit the show and record it at home? And you're just like, okay, so basically you want me to voice track? Is this what you want? Or like, I don't know where okay, I'll do what I would normally do there, but now I'm going to record it. I honestly, when I started doing this, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Right. Cause the fun wasn't there. It just wasn't there. It's just like, I would get off on in between, like, the song after when the song started playing, and then I would burst out laughing at whoever I was interviewing because they were going, I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I sound like a moron. Am I okay? I'm like, no, you're fine, right? Like you missed that interaction.
Are you pointing that out on me by chance? Because I've asked you that same question in a fail state interview.
But everybody
did that sound okay?
Yeah, like did I make any sense there? I'm like, sure, yeah, it's okay, right? But
that's my anxiety. Hello.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it though. Like that was the fun of like hanging out and doing that, right? So when you do whatever, an hour-long show or 3-hour-long show, or in my case, it was 7 hours, like from noon till 7.
Yeah, that's insane.
I'm in, but I love it, right? Because I'm interviewing everybody. I'm finding new music, or trying to, and I take requests from people, and I still try to tell a little bit of a story. The problem that I find that I have is that sometimes I'll get stuck in a mode where it's just like, I don't want to play the same music, but all of a sudden I like a song so much and I throw it in, that sort of thing. I'm just like, wait a minute, I just played that.
Yeah.
And like play something new, right? So it's been a little bit tough, but I mean, the procedure to do it was made easy by our former station manager, Brian Webb.
Yes.
Because Brian said, hey, Gunnar, you use WeTransfer, send me, MP3s 325, blah, 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 just make it like 59 minutes an hour. I'll drop the breaks into the top of the hour. I'm like, yeah, well, that was how I thought we were going to do it. But he just said, yeah, just do it that way. Great, cool. And I did it. And then, but as I was doing it, it's just like going, oh man, I used to be really good at producing things. And I forgot, so the muscle memory. But that's the benefit of not being in the radio station, is sitting at home is like forcing myself to go, oh, that's how you do that. You used to do that all the time. Okay. So now the production skills on my end is getting better, that sort of thing. Right. So, but to sit down and do a 7-hour show, I have to constantly be looking on the internet of what's going on in my area, who's doing music, who's doing something that needs help with something, and then the email process, that sort of thing. And then the scheduling of the interviews. Like with you, you said, hey, I got to do this thing. I said, let's just get this off your plate and do it 2:00 tomorrow. Whereas tonight I have an interview with someone in Vancouver. I have another interview with someone in Calgary, and then my interview schedule will be all over in the day of just trying to gather material, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and not being terribly frustrated by Facebook, which I have been, and I just hate Facebook now, because
it's not the
honestly,
best place.
like I'm trying to be cool about it, but I find that I'm slowly exiting it, because I just find that it's dead as far as making contacts with people on what they want to promote.
Well, even the other day when I emailed you for this interview, I went to your Facebook page because I just wanted to remember your email, and I think it said at the top, not taking friend requests.
I had a stupid amount of friends on Facebook.
Yeah, and then you purged them all for various reasons.
The various reasons were straight up. I had friends
yeah.
from all over the place. I was very great with accepting friends, because it was I was doing the media thing again. What do you need help with? And then all of a sudden it was just from oh wait, you're protesting and you're in a yellow vest in front of the city of Hamilton? No, you got to go. You have something against immigrants? You got to go. Oh, you're a musician and you're an anti-masker? Oh, you have to go. Right.
Yeah, you don't want to promote those types of things. I mean,
well, but I don't want to be associated with any of those people. Oh, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you gotta go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. I don't tolerate any of this. I don't need those people in my life. At no point trolling me, going, when they start a sentence with, well, how about this? Or, but there's another side to a story. It's like, no, if you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi. There's no other side of the story.
There's no defending it. I mean,
there's no defending you. I don't want to defend you, and I don't want to see your
exactly.
side of the story. You have to go away, right?
There are other platforms in which you can voice your toxic opinions.
Please,
I mean,
just
go to YouTube.
Go talk about your anti-masking flat Earth theories, and most of us are lizard people, and Donald Trump's right. Go, God bless. Get out of my life. I don't need your negativity. So I've been weaning myself off of Facebook, that sort of thing. I find, and I should say over the last 8 years, since the more than 8 years that Facebook's been around, is that when it came out, it was great for reconnecting with people in your past.
Oh yeah.
You lose track of. If you are promoting something, it was great for that, because you could actually create an event and people would be very excited about it and show up. Now it's like, this guy just made a friend request to me, and then when I clicked yes, he immediately asked me to like his artwork that he makes ducks out of driftwood that he finds. It's like, oh, this is why you want to be my friend, so I can like your driftwood ducks? Is this what we're doing now? And it's just like, it's just garbage, right?
That's that same concept of follow for a follow, subscribe for subscribe. And I don't like that, to be honest.
To what point is it though, Kris? It's like, oh, you're in a band and you want me to like your page? How about send me the music?
It feels really disingenuous. Even as Frail State, I've had that people, it's like, oh, I'll follow your Spotify if you follow mine. I'm like, if I like your music, I'll follow it. And I would hope that you'd think the same thing as me. If you like my music, you'll follow it.
I actually say it to everybody. If you don't want to listen to my nauseating voice, I don't want to listen to my nauseating voice. I can't even imagine you wanting to listen to me on the air. You don't have to listen to me. You really don't. You don't have to like my pages. You don't have to like my website, whatever. I don't care. It's nice if you pay me a compliment, you genuinely like something, and you want to find out more about an artist. Sure, I'll point you in the right direction. But I don't. I don't. After a while, it's like a like for a like. What the hell is this?
It's very disingenuous. It doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah, I'm all about. So I mean, I'll support you if you need my help, but a like for a like, that's just a weird thing. That's like the poke. Remember the poke?
Yeah, just trying to get attention.
Why am I poking someone? I don't even want to talk to them. Oh, so-and-so poked you 7 times. Maybe they like you. Maybe I don't want to talk to someone who has that much time to poke me on Facebook. As soon as your mom gets on it, it's done anyway. So it doesn't matter. You switch to Instagram or TikTok.
More or less. That's what I've done. All right. So I guess we'll move on. We only got a couple questions left anyways.
Sure.
So, this one, I mean, technically all these can hit kind of close to home, but this one I know that you did some work with This Ain't Hollywood and everything before they closed.
Yeah.
So with the pandemic taking a harsh toll on live music and the venues themselves, how hard has it been to watch this all unfold?
Okay. With, a lot of people are, it's true. The pandemic has shut down a lot of businesses but and as it comes to this in Hollywood, earlier on, we were talking about the generationals of the people coming out and the finances of putting on a show, that sort of thing for a venue and who's coming out to the shows like they used to. This in Hollywood was no different from anyone else. Um, Pre-COVID, you try getting people out on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not happen, even Friday sometimes. And it's nothing against the staff, Lou as a booker or the management. It just wasn't there. And they had 11 years. They had a really good run of solid shows, promoting music, art, culture, causes, everything. But they were burnt out before COVID. Like it's like, and to be a part of that as much as I was, where I was like DJing in the corner, just like other people. I was doing live to airs with the radio station there, promoting it when it started up. Like I've seen a lot of stuff. I helped them with their social media, their website, just like uploading and maintaining certain things.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could see that the cost of of running a venue establishment like that, it takes its toll. It really does, right? Because you start questioning yourself after so many length of times, how much fun is this anymore? Right. So, and how
Yeah,
much of
like
your
wasn't
life?
what he initially imagined it to be type thing.
Well, sure. Well, Lou Molinaro has always been the king of fun. That was his title, right? And everyone loves Lou. I love Lou. I still, to this day, I will always be his program director because used to do a show at the Hawk when it was C101 in Indy. And he does a show at CFMU 93.3 every Wednesday from 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. or till 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. But like I even help him edit his show. Like I still care about the guy a lot. And when you're a part of that venue, you build up all these community ties and there's a lot of bonding and friendships are built. And for it to close, it's just like it takes a certain part of your soul out of you. But then at the end of the day, it's still a business. It had a really good run and it means a lot to a lot of people, but you kind of have to move forward. And I think they've done a nice enough job of doing that. Um, but it was up for sale for a while, and they saw a good offer going into COVID, and I think they made the smart play. Like, look, let's just hang it up and be done because as you know, Kris, you're watching what's going on. You're very astute to the live music scene yourself, and you're seeing people that are pivoting constantly, trying to keep the doors open, trying to keep money in, and a lot of us don't know the cost of running a venue. Just an interview with Blake Lewis Prince. He's one of the guys that works at Club Absinthe. I've known Blake for years,
The name
and
is
when I
very familiar. Did he used to be in a band called That Boy? No, no, I'm
tons of
sorry.
bands.
What was it? Straight Reads the Line, I think it was.
Yeah, tons
Okay.
of bands. He's a great guy. And he said we had to shutter the doors and we've been doing our DIY, fixing everything ourselves. We started a GoFundMe. We have to shut it down for 2 months, but this is what we need to keep the club going. And
Yeah,
what and I said, what's the cost? What are we looking at? And he goes, 25,000 for 2 months. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. The capacity is 450 in that venue, heat, hydro, insurance, everything, right? And they looked like they were turning a little bit in the summer because they had the big patio there and the windows open up and people could play, and they were adhering to all the rules. And then, as you know, and everyone else knows, well, the rules changed again. So how do you the money's not there? The money is not coming in, even with what they did. The money is not there.
and even I mean, along with Absinthe, like even Casbah, and I know a lot of them resorted to like trying to sell merchandise, do fundraising. I remember
It's
at the
yeah.
beginning of the pandemic, the Casbah was giving away these tickets to shows that are going to happen in the future. It was like a fundraising thing, but you pretty much get a free ticket to a show whenever
But
everything's ready. So I
how
still
do
have
you
that in
yeah.
the waiting. So I don't know.
Yeah, how do you accomplish and you think of all the things that you just said there. and you're the management team, or I should say the management and owners of This Ain't Hollywood, going, oh, okay, we have to do all of these different things and come up with different ways just to keep our doors open after 11 years.
Mhm.
Like that's a big ask of anyone,
It
mentally,
is.
emotionally, given what they've done for the city as being an economic generator, I call them, in the downtown core. Was, that was This Ain't Hollywood. It was brash, it was punky. They offered a lot of different things. They were blessed with being in a location that at the right time of art crawl kicking up, and a whole creative scene happening over the last 10 years, if not, I should say longer, that they were in the right place at the right time, but they put the work in, right? It wasn't like we're here and we're lucking out. They put the work in. They renovated an old tavern. They invested a lot of money, and they put their effort in. But even now, like you look at like we were just talking about Absinthe Hamilton. All right, how are they going to, like, they have a GoFundMe, and they're going to sell T-shirts, and they're going to do these things, but they're going into Christmas, going into January, right? So they need the money, but Kris needs the money too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my biggest thing is, like, you're looking at a place like Absinthe Hamilton that may just fold, even though they've done so much for the city and for bands in this area and other people. And I even said to Blake, I'm a generation removed from who's going in that bar now. Like, I was an old guy going in that bar back in the day, right?
And that was back like that. It's the same building that the Pepper Jack used to be at, right?
And it was it's a fantastic venue, I always
Because
thought.
I went there when it was the Pepper Jack Cafe, and I saw a few bands there.
Sure. And Pepper Jack, that was Inouye Brothers, Kenny and his brother. We did our 5-year anniversary of C101 there, which was Sounds of the Hammer Disc, all Hamilton local acts, and we put way too many people in there. If the fire marshal would have showed up, oh my God, there would have been some shit handed down, and luckily it didn't. But it was like they were, back then, that building itself was promoting Hamilton music and culture. So you kind of look at the landscape of venues right now here in Hamilton. Jimmy over at the Corktown said, okay, I'll see you in spring, because it's not there for us, right? It's going to cost us to heat this, that, Casbah put out a release saying, all right, we're going to shut our doors, but this is what we're offering. You can have the venue a 10-person COVID protocol responsible rental, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, okay. If you were to click on Steel City Music, the Facebook page, you'll see I shared an article of a great bar in London called The Office.
Yeah.
A great, it's a great sentiment to it, but it's not going to survive.
Likely not.
No, because if you base it on the conversation that you and I had earlier, is that music scenes change and the support and generational. I can pretty much guarantee that they weren't doing big numbers on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Probably
Monday.
not.
Yeah. So where do the touring acts play now that come across Canada after COVID? Where do you get those nights of which are very crucial on a Wednesday if you're touring as a musician? The venues are gone. Like, where do you learn your craft? That sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, even before the pandemic started, like, as Frail State, I was trying to transition into live. I was looking for people, I was looking for shows. I had an opportunity to open for Rolodex Darko. They actually messaged me on Instagram. Oh, did I lose you? I think I lost him. So just some technical difficulties. We lost Gunner. I'm sure he'll be back in just a moment. Go to the lobby and get yourself some snacks. Okay, so unfortunately, I've lost Gunner for a little while. I got to wait a few hours to get him back, so things might look a little different next time you see us or hear us. But I just wanted to quickly rattle off the point I was making. Don't really have that much depth to go into, but yeah, I was just saying that with the changing landscape of music, everything like that, and how hard it is to get shows. Like, it was already difficult enough looking into things as my band Frail State to find shows to play and everything like that. Because first I'm in a position where I was asking myself, what do I need to play live? Who do I need to play live? And how do I go about doing this? Because I'm completely green when it comes to this. But yes, around December 2019 or January 2020, either or, the band we discussed recently, or previously, I should say, Rolodex Darko, they messaged me on Instagram, asked me to open live for them, or if I wanted to, and I had to turn them down, unfortunately, because I didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the people, and I just didn't have the know-how to do it. So, and lo and behold, that show that they actually ended up inviting me to open with was 2 days after the global pandemic was declared. So apparently the crowds were a little short, and apparently like no other band showed up. So that was weird to see. But they live streamed the whole show, so it was pretty interesting. That was the only point I was going to make about that, and whatever Jamie was going to go on with that. But when you come back, I will get into question 6. It's the final question for this project, and we'll discuss that a little bit, and that'll be it. So we'll see you soon.
Okay, so do you want me to lead it?
Well, no, it's okay because I remember what was going on because we were talking, okay. We were still talking about like the changing music scene and everything like that in Hamilton going forward, and I had basically just said that I was in this transition period of wanting to do live stuff with Frail State, and I was trying to find out who I needed, what I needed, and just how I go about doing that. And the band we were talking about earlier, Rolodex Darko, they actually messaged me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to open live for them. Unfortunately, I had to turn it down though, just because like again, I had nothing and I couldn't. And lo and behold, though, the show I was going to play for them was actually 2 days after the global pandemic was announced. So apparently they were the only band that played that night, and they live streamed it, and that was about it.
Yeah, but you put some thought into how you were going to perform the music, because Frail stated you do everything. Do you not? Like there's no like outside people playing on anything. It's the keyboards. These are my
3 guitars back here.
Yeah.
And I got a MIDI control in front of me, a synthesizer over there. I got everything.
Have you ever thought about doing, hopefully come spring, getting some rehearsals, engaging with others on recreating some of the stuff from your last couple of EPs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to do live stuff. I mean, the only thing I've come closest to so far was I think back in April I jumped on the bandwagon of doing the COVID concerts for like from your own home. So I just did multiple windows of me like playing guitar, bass, singing. It was played like the drum track. I just played that back. Some synth stuff I played back. But other than that, that was the closest thing I've ever done to a Frail State live so far.
How did you feel about doing about watching the online performances when they first started?
I didn't mind it. I thought it was nice that was happening, just because it was still trying to keep the whole live aspect alive. And because there wasn't much of a choice, like it wasn't so hard to accept.
Sure.
But now, like the further we get into the pandemic, the more you miss actually being at these venues and stuff like that. So
when it first started for me, it was hard for me to rationalize what was going on, because the one part of me, like yourself, you want to see a live show, and that's what you paid the ticket for. You want to go out and see something. And then the other part of me was like, well, here's somebody who's just trying to like keep connected with the audience and also maybe make a little bit of like some money coming in. It's COVID, and you should send them something through PayPal or e-transference. But I was never completely happy with how it sounded, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it was, but it's come a long way in a short period of time, because I've seen some incredible performances online, and it's taken a while, but it's getting there. And then now it's like the rationalization, do you pay $30 to watch someone perform in their studio? Are they putting on it,
If my first actual Frail State concert was online, I would probably just put it up for free, because I not only am I too new to this to ask people for money, but at the same time, like it's not the same experience. So I'd feel weird asking for money. I would direct them, hey, there's merchandise here. Here's go to Bandcamp and buy my music. I mean, there's that aspect of it, but other than that, just like tune in, watch it, and hopefully enjoy it.
There's a lot of people that rely on performing live. That was their thing. Like they're musicians who were doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays in local pubs, and then with their band or whatever, Friday, Saturday, hitting the road on a weekend and going somewhere else to play, right? And I knew a lot of them that were just that was like their bread and butter. And some had a day job, but still did that. But a lot of them, it was their bread and butter, right? So
and I mean, like if you have more notoriety in the community, then that's understandable that you would want to charge people for it, and that's fine. Like by all means, if you have it, then do it.
But I come from the background of learning that musicians always get screwed over pay wise.
Oh yeah.
And it's always, and
I've
it's,
had friends tell me some stories.
yeah, it's just like, oh, well, we only have $200. It's like, what, it's 1996. We
You
only
get
have
free
200.
drinks tonight, but we're gonna
Yeah.
withhold your money.
We're gonna give you $200, but you got to provide the PA, and here's $200, and you got to do 3 sets or 3 or 4 sets, and here, and it's like, well, I don't know, 1996. And I said that's kind of for a pub gig. That's, I guess, if you go on as a duo, I guess it's you get a couple drinks but no food, or like whatever, something like that. And then when COVID hits, some pubs are still going, okay, so you get $200, you got to provide the PA, and you got to do 3 sets. And I'm like going, wait a minute, nothing seems to change. Oh wait, now there's like there's plastic barriers, but you can't play anything that's lively music, and no one can dance, and no one can do this. It's like, why am I here? What are we doing here? The money hasn't changed anything, so why am I doing this?
Yeah, if the
Right?
crowd's not interacting, I could have just done this online.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's still a thing, yeah, there's like a thing where you want to perform and that sort of thing, and that's great. But the online thing for me was just constantly like, because you must go through it too when you're listening to something. I know when I do something half-ass, I know it's going to sound half-ass, right? I'm not, but when I audio wise, I want to hear something that's good, and if I'm paying $30 to see someone, I want to see something visually. I want to see them for an hour, engage me online, and I have no problem paying $30 and buying some merch, that sort of thing. But when I first started, I was kind of like, oh, here's someone playing some songs, and it's the feed's cutting out, and their microphone isn't working properly, and my anxiety was just like, oh God, where's the channel changer? I want to turn this right away because I'm getting cringed out by it.
Yeah.
But I did see some recent ones, and I'm kind of I'm intrigued by one that's coming up. I was reading Jacob Moon. Um, he's like a renowned singer-songwriter performer here in Hamilton for some time. And the guy's done a lot of great work for different people, and he was even he was even asked to perform Subdivisions acoustically for Rush when they were getting an award.
That's really cool.
So yeah, so like the guy's like no slouch, right? He's great, he's really great, but he's doing like looping and guitar pedals. I should say looping the guitar pedals, the looping acoustically, and he's covering off on an evening of Genesis and Marillion, which he's a fan of. And I'm like, oh, so it's not even your own music, you're just covering somebody. But I think he's charging something like $25 or $30. So I'm like, I think he's got it together where I would drop that money, but I'm still kind of hesitant. I don't know what it is. It's that I feel that I should be in the venue when a band's performing. I don't know. It's just old school.
Yeah, I guess so. But I, at the same time, I could view it. There's a couple of ways I try to look at it. It's it's imagine like you're just, I don't know, paying for an album or something like that, just some form of support to the artist. And B, too, it seems like not every case, but there can be a lot more creative freedom in how they present the show if they do it online.
True. Yeah, and
not all the time, but
yeah. I mean, it depends on whatever the deal they have with whatever venue. Do they get 100% of the door? Well, is the venue making them pay the sound man and they get the rest of the door? Is there a split at the door? Who's covering off on the opening acts? There's so many ways to cut a deal. So I guess online is 100% it goes to you and whoever you're performing with, right? So
yeah,
it's
more
like
or less.
it's like, but I don't know. It's gotten a lot better. Let's just say on a technical end, a lot of artists are putting on some pretty good shows for online. And I know Lady Bird Sanctuary is doing one December 1st that I'm really intrigued on watching.
Okay.
Because they have all the it's being put on by Melissa McClellan and her cohorts, Lisa Wynn, and they've been doing like 10, 12 years of helping, animals that were abused and finding them homes, that sort of thing. And they're trying to get money together for a farm. They're going to own their own farm and rehabilitate animals, but they have everybody helping out on it. Jan Arden, Brian Adams, Bare Naked Ladies guys, and just like there's just Chris Murphy from Sloan. So, and I think they're charging like $30, but then like $70 for like a meet and greet on Zoom, that sort of thing with some of these artists. So that sounds pretty good.
I'd be curious about your opinion then on Are you aware of the J.R. Diggs Acoustic Christmas thing that usually happens every year?
J.R. Diggs, yeah, J.R. Diggs started that years ago. You know what? I said $70 for Lady Bird Sanctuary, but that's off the top of my head.
Yeah,
That's bullshit. It's must be lower than that. Please look it up online.
I'll
It
have to
happens
correct it.
December 1st. Yeah, but J.R. Diggs thing happened. I believe it's been going on 7 years, if maybe
Something like that.
longer.
I talked to him about it not too long ago.
Yeah,
But just the idea that it's happening again this year, he hasn't really given out the details yet, but it seems like it's probably going to be online, if anything. Maybe like a small intimate gathering and then like a camera live streaming. So I was just
yeah.
curious about your idea on that, considering how long this has been going on, and it sells out every time, so people love it.
Well, the great thing about it, he would always do it at the Casbah Lounge for
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
first started. So your sellout point is like 20 people, which is great when you start. And
yeah,
when you start, the money is appreciated by anybody who you're donating it to. You're bringing awareness to their cause, and then it slowly grew over time. And there was always people who've always helped out, like Tom Wilson, Mike Treblecock from the Killjoys, Tom Wilson from Junk House fame,
yeah,
and
yeah.
other people. Max Kerriman from the Arkells jumped aboard a couple years ago, and I think he built it up. I might be wrong, but I think the last show was at the Vision Church off of McNabb.
Yeah, I'm
I
not sure. I don't remember.
Something like that. But
I
he was like,
hadn't seen
it
it.
went from like the lounge thing to the main room in the Casbah, and then built up to something much more bigger to create greater awareness and more money for the Christmas cause. So now with it online, there might be two ways of looking at it. Because it may look smaller in appearance, but when you go into Christmas time now, the need is greater for everybody. So maybe that's more. You have to do it. You've always done it, right?
Yeah,
It's a benefit. It's like it's a thing. It's not like, well, we'll wait for 6 months and then we'll play a show. We're a band, and it's like, now you've done this every year. You have to keep people top of mind of why you're doing it, and people are in need. So I think it's a good idea that he's doing it online, and I'm sure uh, that whoever he has with him will figure it out for it to sound the best way and how to reach out to people. And those benefit shows, it's like a word of mouth. Once you get started, once you announce it, everyone just kind of clues in. It's the ones that you just start up where you have to do 2 to 3, 4 or 5, what am I saying, of legwork ahead of time, getting people excited about it, getting the performers, getting the press releases out, making sure that everyone is like ramping up, releasing the
yeah, yeah.
tickets, timing everything, right? So I think Jared Diggs thing should do well, even though there's COVID.
Yeah, because he, as I said, I talked to him before about it, and he seems, it seems like he's pretty confident about it, and because like he's just saying like how often this sells out, and also I know that people do kind of need the money this year for Christmas because things are tough, but I was saying that it's actually it could work out beneficially, like because people who couldn't come to the show before because it's sold out, suddenly you have a whole audience online who could just donate
Yeah,
money if they'd like, or like
absolutely.
if there's like perishable goods where they can send them to, blah blah blah. Like
Hmm.
there's just much more of a way of getting the information out there now.
It was there before, but I think it's just that whole, you realize how much people are in need, especially when when you get into this time of season, and everybody is kind of, well, everyone's kind of losing their jobs, and they're getting cut back hours, or they're working from home. But I think it's also a great awareness of, like, there is a need out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even now I think there's like 15, 20 people out in front of City Hall camping and protesting, saying, please, take some of the money that you would put in this police budget and put it into building housing. Let's build some homes for people who were evicted because they couldn't pay their rent. Or the fact that, I think you and I had this, like, earlier on, I had mentioned that Hamilton is far more expensive. It has been in years to live in because of gentrification. We've had a lot of people come in, buy up, buy up, buy up. Housing markets inflate. Sure, people are making money, but a lot of people are losing the opportunity to get a home, right? And you can see the push that has happened in James Street North. It's great that that was revitalized, but a lot of those places now are just becoming condos. And
Yeah.
the people that used to live there, where are they living now? So you kind of push them, and you're constantly pushing. People need a place to live, man. It's they can't be living in out on the street, especially this time of the year. It's just not right.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually gonna push it back just a bit, just to get to this last question here, the one we didn't get to hours ago.
Okay.
But we've kind of already. I have two monitors, that's why I keep looking over here.
That's fine.
I'm just kind of looking over the question. Not only I think we've kind of addressed this, but I think I would have expected a different answer if we hadn't had this conversation already. So I mean, answer as you will, even if you have to repeat yourself a bit. But
Sure.
what I have written down is different cities, provinces, and countries. They're all going to look different after this is all finally over, the pandemic. So, how do you think our local music scene will look down the road? And do you believe we can be resilient and build it back up? But even as you said, like there were certain places struggling and everything like that pre-COVID. So, I mean, I guess I'm going to reword this question because I actually thought about this when we were on a break there. Um, do you think that there'll be a surge or a boom after the pandemic's over of people going back to live shows, especially within our community? Because I think there will, even for a short amount of time, because of the excitement of just getting back out again. But do you think we'd
Sure.
be able to build on that and build it into something big?
I think, I thought about this too. And I've had a lot of people ask me about it when we're talking about, can we ever get back to the normal of what it was? And I don't think we're ever going to get that again to a certain extent. Yeah, I think you're right, Chris, about that whole excitement thing. Just like, oh, we haven't been able to do this for a while, and they're announcing vaccines, and of course, the rollout will take a little while for all of us to be vaccinated. You have to look after the frontline workers first, in regards to nurses, doctors, healthcare, blah blah blah, and then eventually the populace of Canada will get the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there confidence in the music scene of what it is? Sure. I mean, that the guys from Supercrawl will want to do Supercrawl if they're allowed to have 300,000, 400,000 people over a weekend. Is that safe? Is that a safe thing to do? And they'll go by whatever the government tells them. Yeah, you can do this. I think it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a while before people start feeling comfortable going out again. But I think they're going to be pushed by people saying we got to get the economy moving. We got to spend some money. You got to get out there and spend some money and have the economy recover, that sort of thing. So with our music scene, hopefully, I think a new model comes out with people who want to put on live music, because there's definitely been a reset for a lot of people on how they market themselves music wise and try to engage an audience, right?
Yeah.
And I think now all this that we've been doing online will get there'll be people who's like, I already, there are recording studios are going, I have all this space, I can only bring in so many bands at a time. We're in a depression. I'm going to turn this into a place where bands can play and do shows online, and have a small audience. That was even something that I was suggesting months and months and months ago, that I would like to see happen at Mohawk College, to my friend Ty at the MSA, because I was working. I had a contract with them before COVID hit. And I said, I could see us opening up this theater to students and doing an online interactive thing where people come in, they perform, and while they're performing, they take questions from the audience, and people can come in and watch from around the country or around the world. And this might be the best way to start doing, to promoting music and promoting events, that sort of thing. But I mean, I honestly think it's going to take 2 or 3 years. And it's also, it's and a generational thing too. Is the younger generation going to want to go out and see bands in a club?
Yeah, especially
Right.
with like so much time off of it, like it might seem kind of foreign to them in a way.
Like, but is that the thing? Like, is that what they want to do? Is that what they want to do? Is that what they should, like, you know what I mean? There has to be a get, like, is this what I want to do? I want to go and see a live show, or I'll just watch it on my computer screen.
I think it kind of
Right.
rounds back to that idea that I was mentioning earlier about the like a potential boom in the scene where you're gonna see audiences suddenly grow. Again, this is going to when like things are better. That no matter how long that could be.
Oh, yeah, right. But I think though, you look at a lot of things now, is like, younger people, let's get on Twitch. Let's just do Twitch, right? I'm going to play poker on Twitch. You want to join me? Blah, blah, blah. You want to stake me to a game? You want to do this on Twitch? You want to do that on Twitch? How does live music incorporate itself as a promotional tool for from a nightclub or from a festival or from whatever, right? It's like there's all these media channels that are being built, and that's what I think the move is always going to, what it's been moving to for the last 10 years. I always say that to people when they say, well, what do you want to do now? I said, I just want to build my own media channel and just do my thing, right? And
Yeah.
my brand. And I think a lot of club owners, promoters, bands are going to end up becoming their own media channel and making sure that the money just goes to them, because I know it's a horrible thing to say, but it's like it's a one way to be successful. And I think each city and province has to look at what you need to support, and there is proof out there that a lot of these artists are economic drivers, and you should be investing, because eventually, if this vaccine after a couple of years kind of dies down, then we can start building up the tourism dollars again, that sort of thing, right? And that's a huge thing. I mean, just look pre-COVID, just look at the numbers that Supercrawl was doing, just as an example.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
You're bringing in 300,000 people over a weekend, if not more. But okay, then how much money is being spent in Hamilton and is generating jobs? You're looking at $10 million, $15 million, if not more, right? Say one weekend they end up booking Wilco, because Wilco's not on a touring cycle a couple of years ago. Wilco comes over, then you're bringing up all these American tourists are coming up to see a free concert of Wilco in a place called Hamilton, Ontario. These kind of things happen all the time. Though they never took my advice. I really wanted them to book Ghost.
Oh, okay.
I
feel like that would cost a bit of money.
No. Ghost was just breaking.
Oh, this was a while ago. I thought you meant like more recently.
No. Ghost was just breaking, and I wanted them to play, and I remember saying it, and I think it kind of fell on deaf ears, and someone murmured back to me, well, we don't want to like really piss off all the religious people in Hamilton. I'm like going, it's a joke band. Like, you don't, like, what are you missing here? It's like, it's the same as
gimmick.
Kiss.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick. It's like, well, I guess we better not book those wrestlers because someone, they might hurt somebody. Well, they're wrestlers. It's a show.
And
it's still a show, right?
Are we all forgetting when Passion Pit, they headlined Supercrawl, and they have lyrics about depression and suicide all over them, no matter how energetic it sounds. I mean, Passion Pit's great, but yeah, they're very depressing lyrics, and yet you want that headlining. And I mean,
but now you're getting into like, I know exactly what you're saying, right?
It's kind of in the same vein of what you're saying, but probably a little off topic, I guess.
Well, no, it's not off topic. But now you're talking about like, oh, you can't book this because what if someone, took their lyrics so serious and this and that, and we don't want Hamilton portrayed as this, and you're just like, oh, okay, right?
Yeah, personally, I think it's silly. A band shouldn't be not booked because of a gimmick or certain lyrics or something like that. Well, obviously, depending, there's a big asterisk there.
But you always have to remember, it's fun for me to like spout up, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And a lot of people say those things, but once you start having people talking about funding and giving you large amounts of money, you really become under the microscopic eye of who you are, what you're doing, and how you're doing it. Because we do know a lot of people like do not want other people to achieve, to do something a little bit bigger and better, right? Some people troll, and it happens all the time, right? And other people, they have their own belief systems and value systems, and they feel that whatever you're doing should adhere to theirs. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't work that way. But we've seen it happen where, sponsorship deals are lost over stupid things, right?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of stories like that.
Yeah.
And like, even speaking of bands who like are kind of breaking at the time and trying to get them in the Supercrawl, although they weren't really breaking at the time, they'd already kind of come through. But the band Health, if you've ever heard of them.
Okay, yeah.
I remember, like, I didn't even know they were playing Supercrawl at all. Like, me and my girlfriend were just wandering through, looking at some of the stalls and everything like that. And suddenly there's a stage and they're setting up. I'm like, that looks like Health over there. So we just go over to the front gate, and yeah, sure enough, they're setting up stage. We're like, we're staying.
Right. So, yeah, that's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love finding these surprise bands I wasn't expecting to show up.
Yeah, that's I love stuff like that where you're just like, I had no idea this was happening. But it's strange. We had this conversation about all of this stuff about bookings and making people more aware. Like who are the next people that are going to be telling you about what's going on in the city, why you should attend it, why you should know something about it, right? And on my show and also on my website, I always push people who like to write about music and talk about music, right? And there's a one blog called Sarah's Hotspot, and she was a journalism student at Mohawk College, and she graduated a couple of years back.
And I think I know who that is. I
Yeah,
think I saw her when I was in my pre-media class.
Sarah Regitma, I think, or Regitma is, I think I'm
Like,
saying her last name correctly, but we need
yeah,
more people like that. We need more websites. We need more people who enjoy music and enjoy art and creativity, that sort of stuff, to talk about that stuff, to let you know that this is why you should be going out and attending these things and seeing these artists and
yeah.
knowing more about them.
That's kind of what I wanted to turn this into, this Kris Poore Media thing, because it goes beyond just college. Like, I would like to be more involved in the community, and I'd like to be more involved in like the happenings and everything like that. It's not the best time for it, but it's also not the worst time because there are still things happening.
Right. But dude, you and I sitting on Zoom right now talking about music and everything, like,
Yeah,
talking about Hamilton, talking about music, talking about things that I've seen over my tenure here. Um, and things have changed for the better. And I think that, you doing this is still like the right steps for you, that helps everyone else. Like, so you have a podcast now. So, now you start interviewing, the people from Hamilton Music Council. You start talking to Tim Potachik and Mark Milne from Supercrawl. You start talking to the people at City Hall who will give you the time of day to let you have like 15 minutes of, how does this work? How does that work?
yeah.
How can I help out my city a little bit better? And like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
finding
yeah,
out how
absolutely.
a BIA works in a certain area, and can you put on a festival? Is there anything that's going on charity wise, or just like, how do I find out more about the revitalization of Barton Street? These are things that you can do at this level, and the skills you learn now in your second year of radio broadcasting, for the radio station, and doing these little interviews here. I call it a little interview with me, because it helps you build up your confidence and your chops and learning how to have an active ear and all that other fun stuff. But then who's to say that you can't take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have like a small list of names that I'm waiting to email. I'm just waiting only now because school's really busy. So I mean,
Sure. Oh
I
yeah,
put that
man.
first, but then yeah, once I have the time, like I'm gonna start shooting out emails and be like, hey, do you want to talk for like 15 minutes or something? Like,
Sure, and you just let them know what, if you give people the background of what you are, and how you market it, and tell people, and I this is what it's all about, and I share this in social media, and this is what I do. People tend to like come to you later on and go, "Oh, I heard this interview," and I've done so many interviews where um, people go, "Oh, I really enjoyed that Threshold Studio recording that you did." And then some people call me and go, "Well, you're not really interviewing people, you're talking to them." I go, "Yeah, you're right." And I even admit it right in the beginning. If I go, I don't do interviews. I have chats with people. I ask them questions about stuff. As I try to make it as conversation as possible. And and then I ask them questions that aren't really too hard to answer. And if I think that something really needs to be answered, then I'll bring it up again,
yeah.
and try to get something out of them, that sort of thing. But they're more of conversation than they are like hard hitting journalism or anything.
Yeah, because
So
people really enjoy the, like, slice of life kind of stuff. You just talk to people and they enjoy hearing it.
yeah, I mean, we are in a time now where people love long form podcasts or long form interviews. Well, I call them long form chats, but podcasts where people are downloading while they're working, they're listening to something that they're interested in, and they like the perspective, right?
Yeah, and
So
that's what I want to turn this podcast into eventually, because it's an interview technically right now because it's like, class project, but
sure.
I would love to be able to sit down with someone, just talk, and like maybe we do have a topic, a theme, whatever, but just the idea is, I think it'd just be interesting to do that.
Hmm. You can,
that's also getting involved with the community too. So like, it's perfect.
Yeah. No, you can learn a lot about how you're doing things and what is actually going. The more you learn about the world that's going on around you, makes you a better person to be a part of the medium.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to learn something new. Like one of the best things I've ever done was, and I'll never tell them, is actually having my social consciousness of what's going on around me was Matt Jelly. Like I need guys like Matt Jelly and Lee Reed and Jeremy Freiberger from Cobalt Connects and Dan Jelly, Matt's brother, and Graham and like all these different people that I follow on social media. I need them to remind me that not everything is as great as you may think it is, and here are the reasons why, and you should learn a little bit more about it, right? So they've opened up my eyes over the last 10 years of, hey, not everything's as great as you think because you're looking at it from your perspective, right? There are others who are suffering and that shouldn't be, and that some things are wrong, and you should talk about those things and just not fluff over it, right? And that's what I used to do on the air. I'd be like, yeah, you're listening to C101, Sounds of the Hammer Gunner here. We got this coming up and blah, blah, blah. And what a great thing this is. And what a great thing that is. And it's like, dude, you're making yourself sound like everyone else on the radio. And there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Like you're not speaking from the heart. You're just speaking fluff.
Yeah, and a lot of that is, for example, like I don't want to talk too much crap about it because it's currently project that I'm doing, but the Ignite radio shows I have to do for Mohawk, because a lot of it is very formulaic and you have to write to a certain demographic. But just one of the last talk breaks I did on the show I did on Monday, I talked about Black Friday because it's coming up, but I also mentioned some of the worst events that ever happened. I mentioned a guy named Jim Ty Demore who he died during Black Friday getting crushed by a stampede of people. But I brought it back to something positive, saying we can do better than this as people. Like commercialism and consumerism is nothing, not an excuse for violence. We could bring peace and positivity back to the holiday, that kind of stuff. So I felt that was a little more human than just saying, oh, Black Friday, what are you buying this Friday?
Well, the thing that there's a thing that you have to learn how to talk about something to an extent for commercial radio. They hired you to not there's it's changed a little bit. I noticed that now they want someone to be unique in their role on air, but still be a part of the brand and not, so by you saying that, hey, you know what, someone died running in to get crushed to grab a TV set, that's think about that for a second. That's, you don't want to, what's the point of living if you're running to get crushed? People actually killed someone over a TV set, and it was perpetuated through consumerism, and we all bought into it. And this is maybe pull back. like you don't need the $300 TV set. You don't need to get caught up in the hype of everything.
And that's exactly why I wanted to make it human again.
Yeah, advertisers don't want that out there. But I mean, you pull back just a little bit. It's this has come from a guy who's saying it's going to take a couple of years to get things going because the government's going to want us to spend your money. You made the money, spend the money. Let's get the economy going again.
Yeah.
That's the kind of society we're in, but there has to be a human nature to whoever you are when you're speaking on the air, right? You want to be distinctive. You want to have your own voice, but I find if you speak from the heart, people are okay with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to do, because I am kind of exaggerated on air, just to be part of the brand. But then I try to find moments where I can bring it back down to earth, and it's we're all people, and this is important, and this is what's going on.
But also you got to remember that you're trying to sell yourself to people. You're trying to also sell yourself to the people who are hiring you.
Yeah,
you want to see that you're able to handle yourself on air, and you'll be able to speak on behalf of the radio station, but also you got to have this brand of who you are, right? I remember when Fearless Fred came into the market here in Ontario. He was out west, and when Fearless Fred, and then I heard his breaks and I went, there's nothing fearless about him. I was expecting him to be this over the top, blah, 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 but he was just this kind of quirky guy. And then it's I like him. I
Yeah.
just didn't get the name, but I enjoyed his breaks. But I mean, he was coming in and replacing, you know, oh God, I can't remember his name right now. That's so strange. Two
I just
people,
remember
Martin,
when he started
Martin
on
Street.
Edge 102.
Yeah, well, Martin Street passed away,
Yeah.
and Barry. Oh God, Barry was actually a graduate of the radio program,
Oh, okay.
and he used to be on C101, and he would do his breaks like this, and he'd be very quiet, but his timing was like there was a joke, but he would do the dramatic pause of 3 seconds, and then with a monotone, a slightly underhanded joke about whoever he was talking about. And it was just like it was great. And I would go,
Yeah.
"Oh, this guy's making me nuts. How the hell did he get hired?" But it was like it worked because he wasn't doing the over the top. Yeah, I'm a broadcast guy. All right, yeah, oh, yeah. You're listening to the Edge 102. Blah 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 blah. It was just like no, it was like he was unique, right? So there's a balance where you have to find who you are, and maybe someone will hire you. Like I want Kris Poore in this role, doing evenings, wherever, or like whatever it is, right? Overnights.
Yeah.
But I don't, no one will ever do an overnight show again because everything's like, syndicated or voice tracked unless it's a
The
small
people who are
market.
hired for like overnights just basically go in to press a button every hour. That's what I've been told by several second year students from last year. So I mean, hey, what a job.
Hey man, everyone's industry is always changing, and I think that we've learned that firsthand again and again and again. We get taught that lesson that we have to. Nothing stays the same, and it shouldn't. Everything should move forward for the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. So, is there any other questions, sir?
Actually, no. That's the 6 questions, and we got more than enough content to go by.
Okay, perfect. Now I got a question for you.
Sure.
You were recording this entire thing, correct?
Still recording now? Yes.
Okay. It's being saved to your computer?
Yeah, because when you record on Zoom, as soon as you like the host leaves the meeting,
Mhm.
it takes the time. You get an audio file and a video file that has
Video
audio in
file.
it. So
Okay. All right. Can you turn that into an MP3 and we transfer it over to me?
I can do that.
I just want to hear how everything sounds.
Do you need it by a certain point? Because I know earlier you said you wanted to use it for your show.
Yeah, I wanted to hear it before I would put any of it in my show.
Okay, fair enough.
So if you just send me everything now, then I can listen to it. I just want to hear, I want to hear your voice, like your levels and how you were speaking.
Okay.
Right. I noticed that you were pulled back as you were asking questions, and that could have been the fact that you were relaxed. But I found that even when I was watching, both of us were kind of moving on the mic, and it's just a bad habit that we both. I should have stopped it and said, "Don't do that." But if it sounds good, it sounds good, right? So
I think it'll be fine. I usually put it through Adobe too, so just to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, the pump of the. What kind of mic are you using over there?
This one, Audio Technica AT2020.
Okay, yeah. How do you like it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's funny. I didn't know how to use it for a long time because I didn't know it's like you need phantom power on like a mixing board to do it. I didn't know that. I didn't know that for a while. So like I spent years with this thing in a box, and then I finally figured out how to use it. So it's been great. I use this to record my vocals too for it. So
good man. Yeah, I'm still using the Shure 7 broadcasting mics. It's funny. I bought all this gear to do portable podcasting and radio shows, and COVID hits. So I'm like, oh, fuck, man! I got a laptop sitting in with all my other gear that its only purpose is to record, and I haven't touched it in I don't know a year now.
Well, it'll be clean and pristine when you can use it again.
Oh, I bet you when I fire that up, the updates will take 2 years.
Oh, probably.
Windows are rolling. You're just like, oh fuck, whatever. Okay, man. Well, just email this shit over to me so I can hear it.
Yeah, and because this is the end of the podcast, I was gonna turn the tables on you because you usually get people to like push what they're doing. Do you want to tell people where they can find you and what you do?
Make sure you don't put any of the other shit we were just yammering on about in this. Yeah. Oh, what am I doing now? Okay, so with Steel City Music right now, I'm still doing the radio show, of course, and I've been trying to figure out the proper template and the right style of a new website that I want to launch.
Okay,
and I'm going through this radio software that I have, and trying to figure out the nuances of loading songs, that sort of thing. And I'm basically building a radio station. That's what I've always wanted to do. and that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's still going to be Steel City Music. It might be another. Um, I don't know. I might call it something different, that sort of thing. Yeah, the thing is like, sure, I built up the brand. So my friend Tyler McIntyre, and it's been a brand that's been around forever, or the last 10, 15 years. Other people writing for it, and then Tyler and I took over. But I might just start fresh and do like my own thing, that sort of stuff. And I'll always like be covering Hamilton stuff, music, that sort of stuff. But I really enjoy talking to and getting new music and bringing it in and interviewing different people, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm basically building a media channel, right? Trying to find the right cameras and the right setting and the right people to do things consistently. And yeah, I want to do that before I croak. before
That's more than fair.
well,
And
yeah,
hey, if you ever need a fresh-faced radio student right out of college, I'm always here.
well, I would, once I get it going, I will go to like people who show an interest and go, hey man, do you want to like interview some bands? You want to do some writing? You want some camera time where you would be interviewing people on camera, that sort of thing. And starting it that way, right? So it's weird, to be thinking about all these things coming out of COVID, and how much money can you generate to keep it going, that sort of thing. So
Well, even you said it
yeah,
earlier,
that's
like
how
a
I
lot
feel
of
right now.
people hit the reset button and in COVID, and now here we are.
Here we are, man. And hell, I've gone through enough crap in my life where I think I can pull this off. I've been through worse. We all have.
Oh yeah.
We got this. All right, man.
Thank you very much for sitting down with me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, man. I'm happy. Anytime you ever need anything, let me know. And for other people, steelcitymusic.ca, click on the contact form. Say, hey, Gunner, can you help me promote this? Blah blah blah. I'm doing this. Sure, no problem. Send me some music, whatever you need help with while I'm on the planet. I'll help you.
Yeah, I'll put links down in the description, and usually in the video too. I'll put your social tags below your video there too.
Now, wait, you're posting this video?
This is probably, I'll be condensing it a little bit and putting it on YouTube. Yeah.
What, with my head and my?
I'll just put the big SCM logo over you, and that'll be it.
Much better. You don't want anyone throwing up.
I'll absolutely do that.
No one needs to see the potato head talk. That's all I'm saying. Just put the logo in there, baby. Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. Thanks, man. Don't
have
put
a great
my face
night.
in this. Yeah, take care, buddy. All right. Bye-bye.